inches to go. To Bader. 17 to 14. Cowboys out in front. Starr begins the count. Takes the snap. He's got the quarterback sneak, and he's into the touchdown, and the Packers are out in front. And the Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions.
Set up for the Packers, and Favre back to throw his first one. Going deep. Has a man open. Andre Rison does the dance in, and Favre got settled down in a hurry.
That is the way to settle down.
Got hit there, 3rd and 1. Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, touchdown, Green Bay.
The title is back in town. The Green Bay Packers are world champions of football.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to another rendition of the Titletown Lounge podcast. I'm your host, Rhino. You can find me on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. This handsome man to your right is Brandon. You can find him on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. And of course, the Titletown Lounge itself, you can find on Twitter at Titletown Lounge. Welcome to a much more positive episode of the Titletown Lounge. It is Victory Wednesday for us just because we record on Wednesdays. We have been relishing in the victory, the Monday night victory against the Detroit Lions, 35-17, a game in which the Packers got back on track offensively, started a little slow defensively, but a shutout in the second half by Joe Barry's defense. A lot to break down. We're going to start with that matchup against the Detroit Lions, and then we will move on to a preview of the Week 3 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers out there in whatever town that they play in anymore. I have no idea. Brandon, how are we feeling, bud? How do you feel after smashing the Lions to death, taming the Lions on that Monday Night Football game at Lambeau Field? How you feeling?
I'm just glad we got all our kneecaps, at least so far, from what I've heard. No, it's always way better after a win. You know, you had a tumultuous offseason. That's
tumultuous.
That's putting it lightly. Roller coaster of an offseason, and then obviously training camp, and then going in, Aaron Rodgers comes back, and we had high expectations for this football team, and rightfully so. You got, position, at every position, you got arguably a top 5, top 10 player for each major position. So it's high expectations. Then week 1 was a blunder, whatever you want to call it, embarrassment, whatever. Adjective fits the description. They all fit it.
A lot of expletives.
Yeah. So, and then going into Monday night, and I'll be honest with you, I'm happy they won. I don't know if I'm there yet.
What I would like to figure out tonight is, I know it was a blowout, so it's weird to pose this question, and we're going to break down the answer to this question over the next half an hour as we're talking about the Lions game. Did the Lions lose that game?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, and I had a buddy of mine who he asked me Tuesday after the game, he said, why did the Packers come out and play like that? And I think the first half was misleading for that football game. Yes, the defense, I just don't think the defense is there yet. I know it's a somewhat new system under Joe Barry. I'm not giving him a pass for these first few games, but I think it's going to get better as we go along. But it's obvious not there. But the offense had 2 touchdowns and 3 drives. That's pretty efficient. I mean, that's pretty good. That's kind of what.
All right, Adam. You know what I meant.
I think efficiently on offense they were efficient enough, putting up 14 points. Kind of got away from the run in that second drive in the first quarter. Obviously they did a 3 and out. But I don't think that the Packers, or I don't think the Lions won that game. Green Bay was the better team. They were the line, I believe, was 11.5 or 10.5. I think I posed that question incorrectly. Did the Packers win or did the Lions lose? The Packers won. Now, okay. I know people on Twitter and Facebook and the dark web, and they're saying that, The Packers aren't going to win, more than 7 games. The Packers aren't a good team. They are a really good team. And that showed. Aaron Rodgers threading the needle to Big Bobby Tunyon for a touchdown. Aaron Jones showed why he's a top 3 NFL back. I said that in the offseason, and I still stand by that, not because he had a historic game, but he's just that dude. Like, he can score in many different ways. And look, as Aaron Jones goes, this offense goes. In week 1, you gave Aaron Jones 5 carries. He touched the ball 5 times, and look what happened. Now, I'm not saying, if you give it to him 20 times, they win that game. But as Aaron Jones goes, really, the offense goes. And I do believe Green Bay won that game. They were the better team. They overcame. They pitched a shutout in the second half. I mean, that's I don't care. Say what you want about Joe Barry. We'll have our talk about Joe Barry, and rightfully so.
Yes, we will.
To pitch a shutout in any NFL game in a half of football is really tough to do. I don't care who you are.
So we're going to start with the offense. We're going to break down the offense for a little bit. And you're completely right. As Aaron Jones goes, this offense goes. And I've been making this point for the better part of a decade, if not more. The Packers don't need to have a dominant run game. They don't have to have an elite running game. They have to have an efficient running game. They have to average that 4 yards per carry. They have to be able to move the sticks with the running game. And so the defense will follow. You set up the pass with the run, and that's what this offense does best. And we saw that Monday night against the Lions. Aaron Jones was very effective in the first half. Now, his yards per carry did dip down in the second half simply because the defense started playing the run. But you saw how versatile Aaron Jones was with his receiving skills as well. He had the 3 receiving touchdowns, and then, of course, he added the 1 on the ground. But that point was proven in the first half. They were running that same too high safety set against Aaron Rodgers, and we saw a much more efficient Aaron Rodgers overall in the entire game, but we did see a slow start for him in terms of throwing the ball downfield. I believe he started it was either 8 of 9 or 8 of 10, but he only had about 65, 70 yards. So the first half of the game, he was unable to push the ball downfield. He wasn't making the 15, 20-yard throws. He was checking down to even his third progression. He was making 3-yard throws, 5-yard throws. The ball was not traveling very far in the air for Rodgers in the first half. And what happened? Matt LaFleur stuck with the run game. He didn't turn tail and run away from the run game when they were down 14-7 and were calling plays for Rodgers to try and force the ball into double and triple coverage. He stuck with Aaron Jones. He stuck with the run. They moved the chains. The Lions made a defensive adjustment, and it allowed Aaron Rodgers to open up the offense and start throwing the ball. That first drive, I believe it was the first drive of the second half, 3rd and 12, 50-yard bomb to Davante Adams. Absolutely phenomenal pass. And then one of the better passes I think I've seen of his entire career, that 3rd and 6 inside, I believe was inside the 25, that 3rd and 6 pass to Bobby Tunyon. That thing was a thing of beauty. And the craziest part about that pass, he had Lazard wide open in the middle of the field, and Lazard may even run that in. Yeah. He had nobody behind him. I mean, at worst, he's probably caught at the 3-4 yard line.
Yeah.
So back to the original point that I was making. Yes, you're 100% right. When Aaron Jones goes, the offense goes. And that's one of the focal points that this offense needs to maintain going forward this season. You got to feed Jones the rock. He's not going to be a Derrick Henry kind of guy where he's getting 30, 35 touches. He doesn't need to. As long as he's efficient, as long as he is making plays on the ground, moving the chains, that is going to open up the passing offense. And, I mean, we saw vintage Aaron Rodgers. We saw MVP form Aaron Rodgers in this game. And it was a sight to see. And I spoke about this last week on the show. I wanted the blowout. Obviously, I wanted that 48-17 type game. But I did say that the Packers didn't need that. What they needed was an extremely efficient game on offense. And that is exactly what they got. You saw efficiency out of Aaron Rodgers. You saw efficiency out of Aaron Jones. You saw Davante Adams making great plays. We even saw Randall Cobb sprinkled in there on a couple third downs in the second half. Him, reaching the sticks, moving the pylon. This type of efficiency is what the offense needed to get back on track. And that is exactly what we saw against the Lions on Monday night.
I hope it has, kind of, I don't want to say woken them up a little bit. I think after that week 1 debacle should probably have done it. And really you shouldn't even need that. But hopefully this regains a little bit of that swagger that the Green Bay Packers play with under Matt LaFleur. Again, Underrated. I know everybody is out there talking, trying to bring down Matt LaFleur and how good of a coach he is. He's 7-0 after a loss. I mean, that's tough. I mean, that's tough. That's pretty good to be undefeated coming off of a loss. And more importantly, he improved to 12-1 against the NFC North since 2019. You can say it's the quarterback. The quarterback absolutely has a lot to do with it. But the quarterback's playing the best football of his career in the current, system that he's in right now. So hopefully this, look, they remain pretty healthy throughout the game. The defense played better. I hope Eric Stokes is back in there in the
he's got to be the starter, right?
From here on out, you would imagine. I don't know what else Kevin King has to do wrong on a football field for Joe Barry or Matt LaFleur, or I don't care, name somebody, Jerry Gray, I don't care, whoever, to be like, okay, this guy runs a 4.2. He's pretty good in coverage. He's the highest rated cornerback. It's only been 2 weeks. I know. He's
among rookies, yes.
He's the highest rated cornerback among rookies, and a couple of them went before him in that draft as well. So he's the highest rated cornerback as of, through 2 weeks of football. He made plays in week 1. He absolutely made plays in week 2. That touchdown was not his fault. That was PFF had it all kind of figured out. It was a miscommunication is how they came to that ruling. So he hasn't given up.
Missed coverage by King.
It was. Yeah. He was supposed to drop down. They had 3 guys on 1 guy. So, I mean, it's the Detroit Lions. It's a game you should win. Jared Goff, he's a efficient quarterback. He's not great. He's not going to go into Lambeau Field and beat Aaron Rodgers with the type of surrounding cast that Aaron Rodgers has there in Green Bay. But as bad as the defense was in the first half, I'm glad it clicked in the second half. And apparently it took Matt LaFleur to get down on Joe Barry and tell him, either pressure the quarterback or play coverage, because it's not working, with the 4-man rush. So it's a positive step. The schedule's only going to get rougher. Justin Fields is now starting in Chicago. The division might get a little bit tougher with that. The Vikings are what a way to lose. I wish I had the Paul Allen audio to play right now. I don't know if anybody has heard. If you haven't heard it, it's absolutely hilarious. Anybody that knows Paul Allen, knows what kind of person he is. And when he called that missed field goal, it was just absolutely hilarious. But nonetheless, it's a good step. It's a game you should have won. It was a must-win game. I mean, let's put it. That's
as
what it is.
Unfortunate as that is, yeah.
It was a must-win. You go 0-2 and one of those losses. Well, really 2 of those losses. The Saints got blown out in week 1. I mean, they kind of showed their true colors. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened in week 1. I know Green Bay took them for granted. Still, to lose by 35 against a team that just got blown out by Carolina in week 2, I don't know. But hopefully it's a good thing. It's a good sign for things to come.
I want to address this question. We got a great question here by Jake Jerlewski right off the bat. As much as there is an overreaction to how bad the Packers were week 1, Packers aren't that bad. You are overreacting to beating the Lions at home. Lions might win 2 to 3 games. Nothing was learned by this game, in my opinion. If anything, the first half was worrisome. Thoughts. Now, very quickly, the Lions are actually a lot better than 2-3 wins this year. They're battling a lot of injuries. They have no wide receivers. They have no cornerbacks. They did make a game against the 49ers, a team that a lot of people are now, saying might be NFC favorites after the first couple weeks of the NFL season. But one thing that I would like to point out, and this is with everything, this isn't just football, but when something negative happens, when something bad happens, the reaction is always 5 times greater than when something good happens. If you think about it like this, when you go to a restaurant, if you have a shitty experience at a restaurant, you're going to tell probably 5 or 6 people. If you go and have a good, decent meal at a restaurant, you might tell 1 person about it. So when you have a 38-3 loss to open the season, the reaction is exponentially worse than, say, what if the Packers would have lost 27-24? The reaction would have been nowhere near the intensity as it was in a 38-3 loss. Now, in this particular game, it was a 35-17 win with a second half shutout on defense. Had the Packers squeaked by, had this been a 35-32 game, obviously the reaction might not have been as positive. But in comparison between the 2 weeks, I don't think we're overreacting. We saw a lot of positives, a lot of things to build off of. And the negatives from week one were very shocking. I think the shock value was there for a lot of people. That's why everyone overreacted about week one. But the first half, I wouldn't call it worrisome. I mean, it's just football. I mean, there was some good football plays. Jared Goff played a very efficient first half. They had the Packers on their heels in the secondary. So I don't know if I would call it worrisome. Kevin King is the only player I would say is worrisome.
Yeah.
And I think Eric Stokes is showing that he's going to probably be the starter in week 3.
And I think for myself as well, and everybody, Packer fans or not Packer fans, again, Jake, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it, man. It was worrisome, but it wasn't. The offense was efficient. They had 3 drives. They scored 14 points. That's pretty darn good. Like, I'll take that. I'll take that any day of the week. The Lions are going to definitely win more than 2 or 3 games. I can promise you that. Yeah. They're not a bad team. They just have a lot of holes in their offense and in their
they're
defense.
A very young team too.
You got a top 10 tight end. You got 2 really good running backs. Dan Campbell's kind of changing the atmosphere in Detroit, but look, you can say what you want, about any team, Jacksonville, the Jets. Winning in the NFL is hard. It's hard. Winning in sports in general is hard. These guys are getting paid too. They're fighting for their jobs. And let's not forget, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl. I understand that it was under Sean McVay. I understand the system was extremely friendly for him, aka same system that Aaron Rodgers in. But he went to a Super Bowl. I mean, he got a big contract. I don't think we can sit here and laugh at Jared Goff because I think there's probably 10 to 15 teams that would love to have Jared Goff on their team. They're not bad. They're good defense. The only worrisome was the defense. And really you can point to one player. He gave up 2 of the touchdowns. I mean, Kevin King was solely responsible for 14 points out of those 17 points. And again, like I said, Jake, when you pitch a shutout in any half of football, that's impressive. With the way roughing the passer, pass interference, how they call games right now, shutting a team out from not even attempting a field goal is impressive. No matter who you are, no matter who you play, it's something to build off of. I don't think that we're overblowing the reaction to winning week 2. It was a must-win game for the Green Bay Packers. If they go 0-2, 2 of those losses against subpar teams after the offseason we just had, then that would be a reaction. This is just a step in the right direction for where this team needs to go, especially with the tough schedule ahead.
In all honesty, if Eric Stokes starts this game, they may have been held in single-digit points.
More than likely, yeah.
That's fair to say because, like you said, 14 of those 17 points came with Kevin King as a defender. Now, I mean, obviously anything can happen, a broken play, anything, but it's realistic to say it could have been a 42-7 game had Eric Stokes started at corner.
And had Joe Barry come out in the first half like he did in the second half, who knows? Because they played press coverage majority of that second half, and they were bringing 5 to 6 players, almost every other play. So he coached the second half, more aggressively than he did the first half. He kind of went into that first half, coaching that defense a little bit conservative. Had Joe Barry had that game plan like he had in the second half, who knows what would have happened. But that's never an overreaction to a win. You'll never be an overreaction to a win in the National Football League. It's way too competitive.
And this is actually something that I would like to discuss. What is with this rushing 4 and playing a minimum of 5 yards off the ball with your secondary bullshit? What is that, man? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't understand that game plan. I mean, there are some studs on defense for this Packers team. You got Jair Alexander, you've got Rashawn Gary, you've got Kenny Clark. You don't have the personnel to rush 4 and play 7-8 yards off the ball every snap. You just don't. I mean, the 85 Bears would give up points rushing 4 and playing 7-8 yards off the ball every snap. And it's so ironic that once Matt LaFleur said something to Joe Barry and they started bringing 5, they started bringing 6, they started playing press coverage, that it's a shutout. I mean, if you look at the second half for the Lions, they turned the ball over on downs twice. They had an interception, they had a fumble, and then they punted. They never even kicked a field goal.
Yeah. That's
They
hard.
never even attempted a field goal.
Yeah. I don't care who you are. That's hard.
It wasn't a couple missed field goals and maybe a drop touchdown pass in the end zone.
Yeah.
Turnover on downs twice, 2 physical turnovers, and a punt. And that's all because he made 2 small adjustments, rushing more, playing press coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that second half, the vast majority of that second half was played by Eric Stokes. And we talked about this in our post-draft special. The thing that I liked the most about Stokes was his speed, but it was his ability to play press coverage and turn his hips and run with his guy downfield, something Kevin King has never been capable of since his college days.
Yeah, I honestly don't. If you watch Kevin King at Washington, even the year Kevin King had 6 interceptions when he led the Packers, I think it was 2018, he just looks way different. I don't know what I don't know what happened. See, when they drafted Kevin King, and everybody is still talking about it with the whole TJ Watt thing, but there's a lot of teams, guys, that passed on TJ Watt. It wasn't just the Packers. But when he was drafted, that's when Legion of Boom was kind of at their, they were kind of coming down, but they were still really good. And getting a 6'3" corner, you were like freaked out about, like, that's huge. Like that.
Well,
like,
he got comps to Richard Sherman.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's what, that's what the Packers were going for. That's what Ted Thompson, I believe, was going for. And again, I don't know Ted Thompson, how healthy he was during the later part of his career. Super glad that the Packers were able to honor him on Monday Night Football. I wish they would have showed it though at halftime. We didn't see anything on the telecast.
Well, I believe there was a local channel that was showing the game, and I believe they showed something at halftime. But I have YouTube TV, so I
watched if you watch Monday Night Football and don't watch Peyton and Eli Manning, I don't know if we can be friends, because
I did watch a little bit of it. I gotta mention this real quick.
It's remarkable.
Did Brett Favre look like he had never touched a piece of technology in his life?
Well, I'm sure he hasn't.
I mean, he was doing this, like he was doing the 60-year-old Facebook selfie, the white guy selfie. It's like,
yeah, I'm sure he probably. Well, he was supposed to be on in the first quarter. He was supposed to be one of the first guests.
Yeah,
but he couldn't
until the second half.
He couldn't connect to it. But
he probably had to have his daughter help him get connected.
Yeah, they're ESPN is doing a weird thing. And I guess it's money in their pocket. Who cares? But they're like competing with themselves.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you right now, if you're a football guru, which I'm sure most of you guys that listen to the show, that check out the podcast, probably are listening to them. They're talking pre-snap. They're talking after snap. It's just, you learn a lot just by watching it. You really do. Like, there's stuff, they were talking to Brett Favre about Aaron Rodgers, how the Lions were playing the 2 shell over him, and they were trying to force him to be impatient and go out of his comfort zone. And they were talking with Brett Favre and asking him what he would do. They had Patrick Willis on. They were talking about, on the other side of the football, what he thought. I don't know. It's just, and then Pat McAfee at the end, the game was already over. That was fun too.
I saw a very interesting tweet about Eli and Peyton, and it actually resonated with me. It's odd you don't see more former quarterbacks as defensive coaches. The way that Peyton and Eli were breaking down the coverages, breaking down the defense. I mean, they spent more time breaking down the defenses and the coverages than they did what Aaron Rodgers was doing, and it was brilliant. Everything they were talking about was spot on. It was 100% accurate. And it really made me thought, like, it's kind of weird that you don't see at least like maybe a defensive specialist or a defensive advisor, a quarterback be like, hey, look, guys, when I played and I saw this particular scheme, I would do this. I would go here. We would run these plays. Like, it's weird that, like if you see your quarterback making these adjustments, or if you see your quarterback calling these audibles, he's probably going this direction. I think it's a really good point.
It is actually a good point. I never really thought about it. So it's pretty cool though. Next Monday night, I'm so tired of the Packers playing on primetime.
Yeah, I would fight a grown alligator to have nothing but noon games.
I am so sick of it, man. I want every game right away at noon. I'm tired of waiting all day. Sunday nights are worse than Mondays, because at least Sunday, your team's not playing. You can just kind of whatever. But all day Sunday, you're just getting yourself worked up, and the butterflies. Then they lose. Yeah, and then they embarrass themselves, and everybody and their mother's tweeting at you, and then it becomes an argument that is a whole another day for another discussion.
They don't. I don't even think they have a noon game until like week 6 or 7.
I don't even think it's new.
Because
It's week 6. They play the Bears, I believe, but I think that's 3:25.
Because the Steelers game week 4, that's 3:30.
Yeah, and I believe the Bears in week 6 are 3:30 as well.
Oh my God, I can't stand it. Play at noon. Football's meant to be played at noon, and then you have like 2 games on at 3:30.
I don't know.
Anyways,
real quick, we're getting way off topic, but
yeah, we did get way off
the
topic.
Badgers.
Jesus.
The Badgers are at Notre Dame, or they're at Soldier Field this year. That's where College Game Day goes, and that game's on at 11 o'clock. Why is that game? Wouldn't you think that's a primetime game?
I would think it would at least be a 2:30 game.
At least. I don't know. We're way off topic right now, but I just saw that.
Is this the Title Town Lounge? Where are we right now? Wisconsin's not winning that game, by the way. Anyways, so back to the defense. The second half adjustments that Joe Barry made, it did give me a little bit of confidence in his ability to play to his opponent. We obviously did not see that week 1 against the Saints. There were a lot of anomalies in that game, but the fact that he was able to make that halftime adjustment, come out, pitch that shutout, and not just a shutout, but I mean, that was the equivalent of throwing a perfect game in the second half. I mean, you didn't even let your opponent get into scoring position. Real quick, too, the guy that broke up the passes on both those 4th downs, Eric Stokes. The guy's got to start. He's got to start against the Niners. You got to put him in. I don't care. Start him against the Niners. Real quick, I did hear one argument that was talked about, I believe it was on the Dan Patrick show. I can't remember which show it was. There's a couple people that are calling Jair to play exclusively in the slot. Does that not just blow your mind?
Yeah, it's people that people that say that are more than likely people that don't really know who Jair is, because Jair isn't like Jalen Ramsey. He's not flashy.
No.
He's not. They barely throw to the guy. He's doesn't get picked on a whole lot. And the only time you really talk about him is if there's a mistake made, and it's rare. It's rare, so he doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. Speaking of Jair, and again, this is just an opinion based on the eye. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Eric Stokes reminds me a lot of Jair Alexander. Eric Stokes is bigger, a tad faster. He's involved in every play, even if it's a completed pass.
Yeah,
he's there. He's competing, and that's how. If you remember the rookie year of Jair Alexander, that's kind of how he was. He didn't shut anybody down, but every play, every pass attempt towards his side of the field, he would compete with that play. And we saw that in week 2, really in week 1 as well. Eric Stokes in week 2, he's there every, even if it's completed. I mean, he's right there. It's not like he's not like chasing Scotty Miller, down the sideline, before half scoring a touchdown, soon. He's a physical cornerback, and he competes. And I don't know how you're at Green Bay Packers, if you're Matt LaFleur, or if you're definitely not Joe Barry, because I really do. And I hate for this that say this, and it might be crazy, but I think he's already his seat's getting a little bit warm already.
Who's that, Joe Barry?
Yeah. If it takes a head coach to tell you, and I know coaches go back and forth at halftime, hey, this is what, I'm seeing as a defensive coordinator. Maybe you can work on this as your offense, and vice versa. I get that. But for Matt LaFleur to have to go into halftime and tell Joe Barry, you do this or you do that, and that's it. Like, it's not a good look for a guy that
is the one red flag, because I think Stevie Wonder could have told you that they needed to pass rush in the first half against the Lions. Goff had it all day to play or throw.
Well, he did, but we also have to understand, and myself included, we are missing the best defensive player, arguably the best defensive player on our team. That's fact. We're missing Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith does a lot of. Remember, Zadarius Smith in the last 2 years has better numbers than a lot of these top tier pass rushers, Khalil Mack, guys like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just facts. It's just what it is, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. He's a really good defensive player, and he not only in the passing game, obviously rushing the passer, but also in the run game. So when you lose that guy, somebody's got to fill in. And although I do think Rashawn Gary showed some flashes. He has some work on him. You know, he's a project. Everybody knew that when we drafted him out of Michigan. And that was kind of the way he was brought into the defense. He didn't have to start day one. You got Preston and Zadarius, but having him starting to come along, that bull rush, that caused one of the fumbles, actually. So I think they'll be okay moving forward.
Just to counteract that point very quickly before we move on to the next segment, it would be just as difficult for Z to get in the backfield if you're only rushing 4 as it was with Gary. I mean, would Z have maybe caused a little bit more pressure, a tiny bit more pressure? Yeah.
He draws more attention, though, from it. If you're looking at it, but he draws more attention than the offensive line. The tackle, wherever he lines up, the tackle, he's getting double teamed. Well, Gary might not be. You know, that's an extra lineman that can stick on Kenny Clark. I don't know what Kyle Lancaster's doing, or Tyler Lancaster, but it's an extra lineman, being brought in to block somebody else. Zadarius automatically draws second and third team duties.
But the thing about the defense in the first half, they weren't even hiding the fact that they were only rushing 4. I mean, they weren't even bringing a spy down. They weren't bringing the mic up to the line to at least give the illusion that they were blitzing. It was constantly 4 guys, and that's it every single time. That's going to make it difficult for any pass rusher to get in the backfield. Moving on, we're going to finish the Lions segment with a new segment we're going to be doing every week, Studs and Duds. We're going to talk about who our stud of the game is, who our dud of the game is. I'll give my first stud. I would like to give an honorable mention to the intensity that this team played with in week 2. It was unparalleled in comparison to the week 1 matchup against the Saints. The energy with this team, the passion that they played with, even with the slow start on defense, they didn't quit. So that would be my honorable mention stud, but we got to go with that bad man under center. We got to go with 12. He played a phenomenal game. The only real bad passes he had were the 2 bad passes were to MVS. The one there in the end zone where he threw it behind it, which I think he may have lost sight of MVS a little bit because he did have the defensive lineman in between them. And then, of course, the deep shot, the one that I told you when they turned the ball over on downs, and I said to you, they need to go deep right here. And they went deep right here, and he overthrew MVS. Now, one thing I would like to point out very quickly, 2 deep passes to MVS, which were overthrown, which is rare because A, MVS is a speedster. He's the fastest wide receiver on the team. And B, Aaron Rodgers has one of the most accurate deep balls in the NFL. Something is telling me that there's a small possibility that MVS is not putting himself where Rodgers anticipates him on being. Because it's just awfully weird that literally 2 of they were both the same play call. He was lined up on the right side of the field. He ran towards the middle of the field, and it was overthrown both times by about 4 yards. Rodgers, I mean, that we've seen that dude throw a 50-yard bomb into a net that's about the size of a basketball. He knows where to put a deep ball. I just can't imagine that he's going to overthrow MVS twice on the exact same play call. But that's just speculation. I'll go ahead and let you get your stud out there.
I think he was on Pat McAfee's show, and he said those were on him, I believe.
Well, yeah, he's not going to put that on MVS publicly.
Wow.
I don't think he would do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer, I guess, is Aaron Rodgers. All 4 touchdowns for him came in a clean pocket. He had, an average time of 2.31 seconds. Lions only blitzed them 6 times. So obviously that tells you that they played a lot of man, a lot of zone. And it also tells you that it kind of brings up his performance even a little bit more. The fact that they only blitzed them 6 times. I could go Aaron Rodgers. I could go Aaron Jones. Those are, pretty good guys to go with. And Aaron Rodgers is the one you took. I'm going with the guy who wasn't a day 1 starter, competed all offseason and training camp and even a little bit of last year. The 4th highest PFF rating for the Packers team, not just offense, for the team in week 2, and that was John Runyon Jr. Lucas Patrick was unable to go due to, I believe it's a concussion. I don't know if Lucas Patrick sees the field again. John Runyon Jr. had one play that and pass protection that he, had a little mishap. Other than that, Rhino, he was perfect. Perfect. Lucas Patrick's a little bit bigger, But John Runyon Jr. is way more athletic. And I think with the zone blocking scheme, I think that's the guy. I think that's a fit. Again, shout out to Brian Gutekunst. I know he got dragged through the mud this offseason, but again, another draft pick that he absolutely nails on. I think like 4 of his draft picks are on the offensive line right now. Starting offensive line. So I'm going to go with John Runyon Jr., guy that wasn't a day one starter, wasn't a week one starter, shot in there in week 2 and absolutely lit it up.
Do you think they slide Runyon over to left tackle if Elton can't go against the Niners?
That's scary. I hope he goes, or else I don't know. Dennis Kelly, I would imagine. I think Billy Turner will go to left tackle. I think Dennis Kelly will probably go back into right tackle. That's what his position is. That's where he's comfortable. Your guards will stay the same, and obviously your center will stay the same.
And shout out to the center, by the way, Myers,
monster.
He has had an unbelievable start to his career so far. We're gonna go to the duds
real quick, Rhino. Number 1 rated center in rookies right now. Number 1.
Yep. We're gonna go on to our duds, and I think this one is pretty goddamn obvious. Kevin King. What the hell is? I can only laugh. I mean, Quintez Cephas, bro. Quintez Cephas. Give me a break. Shout out to Kyle Simpson, owner of Coyote Bar and Grill here in Belgium, Wisconsin. Make sure you stop out there this week. They are doing breakfast specials for the Ryder Cup. If you are on your way up to the Ryder Cup on I-43, take the exit at Belgium. First stop sign, turn left. You'll see Coyote Bar and Grill. They have the best food out of any bar that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Kevin King for sure is my dud. I think this may finally be the game that he loses his starting position. I don't understand how in anyone's right mind you could look at what Eric Stokes did on defense in that game and then go back to Kevin King to start against the Niners, who clearly have a much better offense than the Lions do.
I am so scared. We'll get into the Niners. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, like the dud, I don't want to say that's an easy pick. Kevin King is, it's probably everybody's dud. You could go to Joe Barry. That could be your dud. And maybe this is a coaching issue. I don't know why this guy gets playing time. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a lunch pail type of player. He goes to work every day and does what he is supposed to do. But Tyler Lancaster isn't the answer. He's just not. I don't understand why Jack Heflin's not getting any. He's not even suiting up. Teams are just not afraid at run to Tyler Lancaster. He gets pushed off the spot of attack way too easily. There's way too many people are erasing him like he's nothing. I don't know what he's doing on the defensive line. Why isn't TJ Slayton getting any? I don't know. I don't understand what the obsession with Tyler Lancaster is. He cannot defend the run. He doesn't tackle well. He doesn't pursue, and he doesn't do anything positively on the defensive side of the football. He's my dud. I just don't know what he does. I really don't. Nothing positive.
That's not a bad dud. And I started thinking about this because I was thinking about Lancaster and King when you have Stokes and Slayton, like those guys sitting behind them. I almost wonder if it's literally just let's see what's left with these guys for the first week or two. Let's see if they can come out here, be motivated. Let's see if they can come out here and live up to their potential. And if not, hopefully week 3, week 4, we start seeing some guys switching positions. Hopefully we see Kevin King benched. Hopefully we see Lancaster with a lot less playing time than he's getting right now. Heflin and Slayton should be getting a lot more defensive snaps than Lancaster.
Can't get any worse.
No, and I honestly, you could put Dean Lowry in that exact same conversation.
Yeah, you could.
He's right there with Tyler Lancaster in ineffectiveness.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I'm really hoping that it's just one of those things where Joe Barry's like, all right, I got to see what I have with the guys who have been here, with the guys who were starters. If not, I'm going to start putting these new guys in. I would like to think that's the case.
I hope that's the case because I just don't even understand what you're even experimenting for. I understand what you're saying. It does make sense, but it's just like, okay, dude, you've had, X amount of years of film on these guys. They're not doing anything. And in the term, they're hurting Kenny Clark and his production because he's getting double and triple teamed every snap. I mean, they're not providing anything. Well,
not only are you hurting Kenny Clark, but you're hurting your middle linebacker core.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys can't stop these guards from going to their second progression and blocking linebackers.
Yep.
That's why guys like, Darius Slayton is averaging 6-7 yards per carry against your run defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is something that should have been a top 10 defense going into this year, and they have not played through the first 6 quarters, they didn't play like it. Second half, they obviously played much better.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so we're going to wrap up Lions talk. Great victory, 35-17. They are 1-1 on the season. They are tied for first place in the division with the Chicago Bears. Lions fall to 0-2. Vikings, hopefully somebody has told Paul Allen that they missed that kick to end the game. Moving on to the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I told you this last week with the 11.5-point spread against the Lions. I told you that people overreact. Vegas does not. Same scenario right now. Right now, it is a 3-point spread. Now, for those of you who know anything about Vegas, I'm not sure how much of a bettor you are. 3 points is what the home field gets pretty much 99 times out of 100.
Yep.
If the home team is favored by 3, that means if it was on a neutral field, it would be a toss-up. It would be a pick-em.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the odds makers in Vegas are seeing something with this team that a lot of the people on ESPN, a lot of your talking heads, a lot of people on the black, what do you call it? The dark web.
Dark web. Yep.
Obviously, they are seeing something with this team that we aren't. This is a team that was up 38-10 against the Lions, almost blew that game. They won 41-33. They go into Philadelphia. They only managed 17 points on offense. Obviously, this is a much better 49ers team than we saw last year. When I can't even remember what the score of that game was. What was it, 38-10 or 38-13, whatever it was?
I believe it was 38-17. It was something like that.
Obviously, this is a much improved team than what we saw last year. They got their number 1 tight end back, George Kittle. Their offensive line is a little bit healthier. Their defensive line is much, much healthier. Mm-hmm. But does this team, after 2 weeks, scare you the same way it may have preseason looking at that schedule?
Kyle Shanahan always will scare me. Always. I just think he's that dude. Kind of like Sean McVay and eventually maybe Matt LaFleur. But yes, Kyle Shanahan scares me because, he's probably looking at this, the game film, obviously with with the Packers played the Lions, probably anticipating that it's going to be Eric Stokes out there more than likely. But Kevin Kane's going to see the field, how is he going to attack the slot position, or utilizing the slot position? How is he going to attack? That's my worry. And then George Kittle, just Green Bay. I don't know. Devondre Campbell actually had a decent game. I know that touchdown pass to Hawkinson, you could not defend that though. Like that was a perfect throw. I mean, it was a great throw and it was a great catch too. Yeah, I mean, it was
over the shoulder. Yeah.
It was a great play. Devondre Campbell had an interception in that game from off of Jared Goff. George Kittle with tight ends, and especially with George Kittle, that worries me. The only thing that's making me kind of lean towards almost, it is kind of a little bit of a toss-up, but leaning towards Green Bay is that they just don't have any running backs. But again, we've seen that with Green Bay where it almost doesn't matter who's running the football. But they lost Hastings this week to a concussion. And then Trey Sermon was also hurt with a concussion in week 2. And they barely won week 2, or was it 17-11 you said against the Eagles?
17-11,
Yeah, they probably are way better than the Eagles. So I don't know. That's a West Coast team going to the East Coast. I don't understand real quick why we are always at San Francisco. I don't how 3 years in a row? How?
When is the last time? Was it 2013?
No, they were in Green. Mike McCarthy's last year. They were in Green Bay.
That's right.
Both,
they were. Yeah.
But both teams sucked. Both teams didn't.
Yeah, that was the game where they threw it to Devontae Adams. With like 30 seconds left. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, both teams sucked, and I just feel like it's been 4 years in a row. No, 3 years in a row.
Well, four games in a row, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just because you got the NFC Championship game in there too.
I just feel like we're always at San Francisco. Especially because Matt LaFleur has the connection with Kyle Shanahan. Everybody always makes a big deal about it. His brother used to be on the coaching staff. Now he's with the Jets, but it just feels like we're always over there. Yeah.
That'll be the end of his career. The one guy that absolutely terrifies me on this team is George Kittle. You've got a tight end that plays a lot like a wide receiver, just like Travis Kelce in Kansas City. This is a guy that has great speed, great acceleration, but he can also stretch the field like a wide receiver. He's not afraid to take a hit, not afraid to give a hit either. So George Kittle is definitely, and we saw how much the Packers struggled with TJ Hawkinson. Mm-hmm. And who are you going to put on him? Adrian Amos, that's actually one guy that almost wound up as a dud on my list too. He did not have a good game against the Lions. That's the guy that's probably going to see a lot of George Kittle in the Sunday Night Football game. But the silver lining here for me, the saving grace that I think we'll be able to talk about hopefully next Wednesday, Jimmy Garoppolo. I still do not think that Jimmy Garoppolo is that good.
He's Jared Goff. That's what he is.
No, Jared Goff is far better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo went to the Super Bowl on a great defense. Jared Goff at least put up MVP-like numbers the year that he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would take Jared Goff over Jimmy Garoppolo 10 times out of 10. Wouldn't even hesitate. He's the reason why I think the Green Bay Packers will have a chance in this game. The one thing, though, we saw it Monday night against the Lions. We did not see it last Sunday against the Saints. They absolutely have to get off to a hot start. 2 out of 3 possessions, put points on the board. If you can get a 10 spot in the first quarter, they're in great shape. Because this 49ers team is going to put points up on the board against the Packers. It's all going to depend on what kind of Joe Barry scheme we see. Does Joe Barry stick with the press coverage, the rushing 5 or 6 guys, bringing a linebacker up through the middle perhaps? That's gonna impact the game a lot. If they come out rushing 4, playing 5 yards off the ball, the 49ers are going to run away with this game. And I'm going to put this one out there. If Elton doesn't play, their chances drop significantly.
Yeah, that line moves from 3 to like 7.
Yeah. I don't think that we're able to contain Joey Bosa without Jenkins. So Kittle's the guy that scares me. I think Kittle could have like a 120-2 kind of game if they let the game get away from them. But I don't even know what I want to put up as a prediction. I want to say Packers win. I'm not going to do a score.
Too risky. Nick Bosa and San Francisco. Nick Bosa is better than Joey Bosa.
Oh, did I say Josa? Joey?
Yeah. Nick is definitely better. I don't even remember. I have to go back and watch it. I don't even remember Elton Jenkins getting hurt. Might have been one of those things that he just kind of.
I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think he plays.
Yeah, God, I hope, because I don't know what you're doing a whole lot of shuffling when you're already doing shuffling on that offense line. Just think though, real quick, like real fast. We're getting off topic real quick, but when David Bakhtiari comes back, man, this offensive line is good. It's really, really freaking good. Like you got guys.
Where do you put Jenkins once Bakhtiari comes back?
I think Jenkins should be right tackle. I do. I think he should. I think he should.
You can't move him to left guard.
No, I think you could, and that's where he's played for, most of his career in Green Bay, and your left side of the line is immaculate. But I think the best starting offensive line is Bakhtiari on the left, Elton Jenkins on the right, obviously Josh Myers in the middle, and then, you can kind of have a little bit of fun with your guards because, Royce Newman's been really good. John Runyon Jr. has been really good. You have depth at that position. Billy Turner is actually a better guard than tackle. So you got options, especially if somebody gets banged up. But that's a big thing. We'll see with Elton Jenkins. I am under the impression that he didn't even make the injury report until today. So I don't know what that was. That's
the
weird.
injury report doesn't come out until today.
Yeah, but after the game. They didn't say anything about. Yeah, you never heard anything about his ankle.
See, that's also why I'm thinking it may not be as big of a deal as I think they're giving him the week just so they don't put added pressure on his ankle going into the game because they want to make sure he's able to play. This is one thing I forgot to bring this up in the Lions segment that I want to bring this up now. We spoke obviously last segment about the offense goes through Jones. When Jones is going, the offense is going. And there's a really odd statistic that I want to discuss with you. So NFL Next Gen Stats, they obviously have some crazy statistics, but they're very, they apply to the game. I mean, they're very wonderful statistics. And they really advance your knowledge on the game, and they make you look at a guy differently. I mean, you could have a guy that's extremely overrated because of next gen stats. So there's a stat called rushing yards over expectation per carry. And what that means is each carry they break down, they look at a number of things, but one of the specific aspects they look at is blocking. So they look at each carry and they say, this is how many yards this guy should have gotten. This is how many yards he did get. And just to kind of give a comparison, right now Derrick Henry is leading the NFL at 0.93 yards over expectation per carry. So he's averaging almost a yard more than what he should be getting. Now, obviously, it's Derrick Henry. But Aaron Jones, so far through 2 games, is averaging negative 1.6 yards under expectation per carry. The blocking, the scheme, the offense, based on what the Packers have given Aaron Jones, he's averaging a yard and a half less than what he should be per carry. Now, is that just something that we're seeing through 2 games? Obviously they utilized him a lot more in the passing game against the Lions than they did in the running game in the second half. Last year he averaged, I believe it was like 0.90 yards over expectation. So he was right there with Derrick Henry among the NFL leaders. But that is a significant statistic so far through 2 games, and it is something to be worried about going against this defensive line, because if the offensive line is giving him the looks, this is the team that he has to have those longer rushes, those 6-7 yard rushes, because in that first half against the Lions, one of the things that Green Bay did struggle with is that 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1. They were not giving themselves a whole lot of second and short looks. You didn't see that until the second half. They're going to need those second and short looks against the 49ers in order to win that game. They have to have manageable 2nd and 3rd downs. They have to be able to move the sticks. You can't be running in the 3rd and long against this team every time, because then they're going to pin their ears back and they're going after Rodgers. If it's 3rd and 8 and more, 3rd and 7 and more, they're throwing. And I have bitched about this for probably 3 years now. It drives me absolutely insane when they wait until 2 or 1 seconds left on the play clock to snap the ball.
That's on one person.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of who it's on, and I know he's waiting until the last second to see if there are any defensive shifts, to see if anybody's going in motion in the back or in the secondary, anything along those lines. But when you get down to 1 second, it's not hard to time that snap. I mean, you could throw us on the defensive line. We're going to be able to time the snap. Mm-hmm. Now you're going against one of the Bosa brothers. Mm-hmm. If you're allowing him to time the snap, he's going to be in the backfield. So Jones has to be that key player in San Francisco. He's got to get the offense going early.
And I think that is a little bit of an anomaly with that stat, because week 1, remember, he only had 5 attempts on 9 yards. So that's probably where,
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said at the beginning of the show, when this offense is successful, it's through Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has a big day. The offense, the Packers, they more than likely win that game. So it has to be through Aaron Jones, and eventually it'll be through A.J. Dillon, as he gets more acclimated in the offense. And
I don't like the lack of usage with Dillon so far, though. I will tell you that. I don't like the lack of usage with him.
I honestly just think I think Dillon's going to be that it sounds cliche, but that cold weather guy. And if you look at that Seahawks game from last year, that's who that dude is. Nobody wants to tackle that guy in 20, 30 degree weather, So that just might be what they do. Aaron Jones is a little bit more explosive, more shifty, a little bit more of the big play, type back. So I think he'll be okay. And keep in mind, Dillon didn't play a whole lot last year with the COVID, and obviously the rookies were at a disadvantage, all of them last year, because of the no off season. So I think we'll see Dillon be utilized more. But this game it's worrisome. Multiple avenues worry me about this game. George Kittle's number 1. Well, really, Kyle Shanahan's number 1. George Kittle's definitely up there. He had a really quiet game in week 2. Super quiet. I think he had like 20-something yards.
I really hope Joe Barry is watching the tape from that week 2 matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles and seeing what they did to hold that offense to 17 points, because the Eagles had a great game plan. Now, obviously, the Niners have no run game. They're not going to have a run game. So if they have somebody come out and run for 120 yards against the Packers.
Yeah, they're literally pulling guys off the street because they've lost so many. The key to a Packers victory, and I'll predict a winner, if the Packers are to win this game, like you said, you got to start out fast.
Yep.
You want to beat San Francisco, you have to force them to throw the football. Look what happened when you forced Detroit to throw the football in sloppy weather. There was a fumble. There was an interception. Detroit didn't even cross the 50-yard line in the second half because you turned them into a one-dimensional team. Once they're down 10-plus points, you got to throw the ball. So you got to turn San Francisco into one-dimensional. That's really any team, but San Francisco feeds off that play action. They feed off that run game, just like the Packers do in Matt LaFleur's system, which is really Kyle Shanahan's or Sean McVay's. I don't know who had it first, whatever, it don't matter. But I just don't know if that happens because we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen the team start off hot. The offense went down in the first drive and against Detroit, and they scored, but the defense consistently gave up yardage, first downs, third and longs, third and shorts, third and mediums. They converted them in that first half against the Green Bay Packers. Kyle Shanahan is a way better play caller, play designer than anybody Detroit has. It's not even close. And I am going to lean. I'm going to give San Francisco. I think they cover. I think it's a 27-24 San Francisco victory. Just going out west has been an Achilles heel for the Green Bay Packers. I know they went out there last year, but historically speaking, under Matt LaFleur, really under Aaron Rodgers, they have not been good going out west. And I think San Francisco in prime time, again, Sunday Night Football, I think they probably squeak out a close game at the end, maybe a late field goal. But I think they do cover and win that game.
I would like to think, now obviously we know it's the Packers. So I would like to think Joe Barry employs the same game plan against the Niners that he did in the second half against the Lions. I think you're going to see press coverage. I think you're going to see rushing 4 and 5 and 6 guys against Jimmy Garoppolo. The offense is going to be a lot more predictable now going into this game against the Packers than it has been the first 2 weeks, simply because they don't have the running game. I think you're going to see the Niners dabble to see what they can get away with the running game in the first quarter. I think they abandon the running game very quickly, though. And I think it's going to be a passing attack, and it's going to depend on, you know what, I'm going to say this actually. If Kevin King starts, they lose. If Eric Stokes starts, they have a much better shot. And you know what? Screw it. I'll throw a prediction out there. I'm going to say it's 28-26 Packers.
I hope you're right and I'm wrong. Here's the thing. If I'm Joe Barry, I'm looking across the field, to the San Francisco's offense, and I'm like, okay, beat me. If Jimmy Garoppolo beat me, if Jimmy Garoppolo beats you, okay, tip your cap, move on to week 4. Yeah. Do not let a guy that's coming off the streets run for a $120, $130, whatever.
Yeah.
If Jimmy Garoppolo's got to complete 10 passes to George Kittle for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns, okay, that's going to happen because he's one of the best tight ends in the National Football League. Yeah. But make them one-dimensional. And if that means Jimmy G's got to throw it 40, 50 times, let it happen. Do not let some dude come in that we have never heard of, that the league has never heard of, and just have the career night of his life, because that is more, aggravating than George Kittle having a big night.
I agree with you 100%. I agree. This game just smells like that's going to happen too. It smells like does. some Joe Blow is going to rush for a $120 and 2, and I hope that's not the case. We'll see. We'll find out Sunday night. Hopefully we can have a more positive show, but I would like to say this. If it's a close game, if it's a hard-fought game, I don't think there's going to be much to be upset about. We're not going to have the overreactions we did after week 1. If it's a blowout, obviously red flags everywhere. But this was one of the games I had circled on the schedule that I thought they would lose. Mm-hmm. Even if they blew out both the Saints and the Lions, this is going to be a hard-fought game regardless.
No, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
So, if they go out there, they play their asses off, they lose, a one-possession game or a 3-point game, you tip your caps, you move on to the Steelers week 4. If they go out there and they lose a 38-10 game, then we're going to have a lot of red flags to talk about next Wednesday.
I could see it. I hope we have good Aaron Rodgers. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna need Monday night Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night for sure.
Yeah.
That'll do it for the Title Town Lounge. I of course am Rhino. You can find me on Twitter at Sports Talk Rhino. Brandon, who still has the wrong Twitter handle,
I'll fix it.
Up on the. You can find him at Brandon_Snide, SNEID, and of course the Title Town Lounge you can find on Twitter at Title Town Lounge. Go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go!
There's Bledsoe. Down he goes.
And there's Reggie White. And that's that hump.
Low to the shotgun. 3 receivers left, 2 to the right. Snap to Rodgers. Scrambles to his left, under pressure, rolling right, escapes. Right side looking. Rainbows high and deep, into the end zone, and it is caught. Ball caught for a touchdown. A leaping touchdown catch is made, and the Packers have won. He is slick in the pocket, and then once he looked across the field, oh my gosh, that's from the 35. That's 60. That's close to 70 yards, but it's how high it went is what's so impressive.
Rodgers to Rodgers. 2 guys from Cal connect.
You talk about a season-saving game.